That's pretty cozy, and it's cool. I'm Lisa Wysocki. I'm the editor of Cool Titles, and this is another episode of Cool Conversations. And I'm here right now with our publisher, Neville Johnson, who is also one of our authors. Welcome to the episode, Neville.
Thanks.
Yeah. So we're here today talking about Neville's new book of poetry called Spy Poems. And I had so much fun editing this book. I mean, I really did. And you're just such a prolific songwriter and poet, but why a collection about spy poems and espionage?
So I've been writing verse for over 30 years, and most of what I write about involve romance in some gradation or degree. But I also write about things that happen in life, and I'm a voracious reader of newspapers, and one of the things that interests me is espionage. So over the last 10, 15 years, if I see a good story about espionage, I'll write about it, and I may write something that is based on fact, or in some cases historical, going back to the 50s or so, or I just make it up.
I think that's really interesting that a lot of your poems are fact-based and have true-to-life people in them and true-to-life events.
Well, the endnotes in the book, as I was asked to do, I cite to the inspiration for the particular poem that I have written, which are most of them are based in fact.
Yeah, and the thing I like about your poetry is a lot of it's fun. There's a lot of humor in the poetry, but it's almost like a history lesson. If you're reading the book, it's almost like a lesson in history. And I'm thinking, wow, all of this is going on in our country, and we don't even know about it.
Not just our country, around the world.
True.
And in various aspects of espionage. So I'll be writing about CIA doctors, or the people don't know about the secret, the CIA museum at the CIA headquarters, and it's not open to the public.
I was going to ask if we could go.
Or other things having to do with the Russians, etc.
So now, do you know personally any spies?
We went to the spy camp in Utah for a week, where we learned techniques of espionage taught by a former member of the CIA. And then one of the people who endorsed my book has worked in intelligence as well. Another person that I wrote about, it's quite a story. His father was in the CIA, and he grew up in a CIA household, and I ended up getting to know him as well. And it's funny because his name's Scott Johnson. He wrote a book called The Wolf and the Watchman, and I read it and I go, this is an incredible story. And I tried to find him, and
Right.
He's a journalist, and I couldn't find him. And then I'm a lawyer in the entertainment business, and I get a phone call one day from Scott Johnson, who's a journalist, and I say, are you the Scott Johnson who wrote The Wolf and the Watchman? And he goes, yeah. I said, I wrote a poem about you. And he goes, I got to read that. He goes, oh, yeah. And so we got to know each other, became friends, and he and his father loved the poem.
Well, that is wonderful. I mean, what a great story. I want to back up just a little bit. Tell us a little bit about Spy Camp.
Well, Cindy, the person
I'm in
who...
the room, be careful.
Cindy is the person who really runs the Cool Titles, and she read about Spy Camp, which is in a little town in Utah, and we went there about a couple years ago, and about 30 people were there. Curiously, 10 of the people who were there were physicians. Another guy that I made, what do you do? I just retired from the sheriff's department in LA. They were there to learn the techniques, and we learned armed combat. We learned how, if you're bound, they bind you and put you in a locked trunk of a car and tell you to get out. Cindy got out, I didn't get out. And you go to the shooting range. We're there with AK-47s, modified, I guess, legal. And we're there for a day, and another day with rifles and handguns, and then we were driving and we learned how to drive and evasive driving, and one of the things I did was I slammed into another car intentionally, and another one was what happens if the person who is driving becomes incapacitated, then you learn how to take over driving, and it's just wild. So. And I learned how to lose a tail. So watch out.
So that's just amazing. It sounds like a lot of fun.
It was.
Now, how does that affect your writing and your poetry?
Well, I wrote a poem called Spy Camp, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
It was just another thing that I learned overall. But I learned, there's various aspects to intelligence gathering around the world. We got hackers who go over to the good side and try and prevent hacking, etc. I have a poem about that. I have a poem about romance, both with somebody on the other side. I have a poem about, and I imagine a party where a bunch of ex-spies get together to hang, who are on all various sides. And one guy's saying to the other guy, I'm so glad I don't have to try and kill you anymore. The other guy says, I kept my back to the wall,
I think that's wonderful. Now, you mentioned your wife, Cindy, who is co-publisher here at Cool Titles.
Yeah.
What's it like to run a company with her and to work with her on this every day?
Oh, it's great fun. The world has changed such that we can be a little publisher and make things happen.
Yeah, the world
and
has.
own our copyrights.
There you go. Speaking of writing, when do you write?
I'm writing all the time. For example, this morning, before I was 15 minutes early to a workout session that I was going to have, sitting in my car, and I knocked off a poem.
Now, is it different for you to write a poem or a song or a novel?
Well, a novel, certainly. I would say writing a poem and a song are relatively the same. In fact, most of the songs I write are first in the verse form, and then I may work with them to turn them in, because you have to have repeating choruses and things like that. The one novel I wrote that is coming out, First Love, Last Love, I have it from beginning to end. I have the whole plot worked out. It's a done deal. The newest one I'm writing right now, actually it's a screenplay. I wish I had the ending figured out yet, but I haven't figured it out yet. So the answer is, it's a lot more time consuming, obviously, to write a novel.
Sure.
What I'll say this about writing overall is that the joy of writing is in the editing, is in the revising.
Really? For you it is?
Yeah.
Wow. See, so many other authors are not going to enjoy that process at all. But I'm glad you do it. And I will say, as your editor, you take direction very well.
Oh, you ought to know.
Well, but no, you really do, and you take it in the spirit of improvement and of making the whole project better.
Look, collaboration is the name of the game, not only in the editorial process, but everything in life. Life is teamwork. I'm a practicing attorney, and I cannot do my job without an effective team.
Yeah. So do you ever have any aspirations of doing a little spying of your own?
I don't think so. I'm an expert in the right of privacy. One of my dad's best friends, my dad went to Yale. One of his dad's best friends was in the CIA. And I remember he came to our house, and I said, well, where are you going? And I can't tell you. What do you do? I said, really, don't ask.
And I think you have a poem, don't you, about don't ask, don't tell? Didn't you?
Yes, I did. I wrote one about that. I envisioned somebody saying, I'm going to tell you about stuff that happened, but I'm not really here right now.
Yes.
And I also wrote a poem about somebody who was engaged in renditions, taking people out of other countries and bringing them back to America, or not bringing them back at all, if you know what I mean.
Right. And so, Neville, we've been talking about spy poems, but this is not your first book of poetry. You have a book of love poems out as well.
That's correct. It's called What Took You So Long.
Oh, and look, here it is. It's magic. Julia just brought us a copy of the book. I'm going to hand that to you. Tell us just briefly about the inspiration for that book.
Well, the inspiration for the book is my wife, and I have been writing poems in honor of her, for her, about her, for a long time. A few years ago, I put them all together in a notebook and gave it to her on her birthday.
Oh, what a cool present!
And that was it was really wonderful. She made her very happy, and
Yeah.
I was definitely not in any doghouse around that period. And so I decided that it would make a good book overall. So I went back through, and we ended up with 167 poems.
Amazing.
And they ended up in this book, and we put it out, and it got very good reviews.
Yes, it
and
did.
I'm very proud of it. And I believe that everybody who is seeing this should immediately order it.
What would you tell somebody who's thinking about writing a book?
Get in front of a typewriter or a computer and start typing. In other words, it's you need motivation, energy, discipline, and a willingness to do it. And I find that it's amazing what comes out of my mind. Once I just sit down, I might start off with just a phrase or a sentence, and I can go to a whole other world overall. I think also economy in writing is extremely important. In other words, we don't need 5 adjectives for when one will do.
I like that because, you were talking about earlier how things have changed a little bit, and I think the length of books has changed over the last 20 or 30 years. Books have gotten a little shorter, and different genres have different average book lengths. And, if you're writing a mystery, you don't want to come in at 150,000 words. So, what you were saying is,
Well, everybody has their own style, but take a look at James Patterson, who probably sells more books than anybody else in the world. And each chapter is about 4 pages.
Yes.
Or 5, and just moves
Yeah.
very rapidly overall. And I think Grisham, John Grisham, I read an interview with him, he said, it's all plotted out. But I don't start till I know exactly where I'm going to end overall. And another thing is to, they say write what you know. Okay, do that. But I also found, what do I know is sometimes I'll go and do a heck of a bunch of research.
Yes.
And then I know.
Yes.
And it's fun to learn to then be able to write about a particular topic.
Oh, absolutely. And with the internet now, you can do just about any kind of internet research you want. And experts are available. Just, they're thrilled to be asked a lot of times just to share their knowledge. And so you can find out what you need to know. But I think that one little piece of information, maybe you're only asking about one specific thing. If you don't get it right, some reader's going to call you out on it. The last question that I have for you right now is, what's coming next?
I am working on a screenplay that's a PI mystery that I'm excited about. And I have my novel, First Love, Last Love, is in galleys and about to come out. And I have written a screenplay based on First Love, Last Love, which is being pitched in Hollywood right now. So I'm very excited about that. And after that, I have a couple of musicals I have wished to write, one of which I have written the book for, but it needs some revisions. And so I'm doing that, and then I'm writing music, songs, and recording them.
That's a lot. That's keeping you
Yeah.
very, very busy. Well, Neville, thank you so much for stopping by and doing this. I know you're really busy. We really appreciate it. And you're always so much fun to talk to. You can pick up any of Neville's books in stores or online everywhere. You can also find them at cooltitlesbooks.com. I hope you'll pick up a copy of Spy Poems. It's a lot of fun. Even if you're not into traditional poetry, it's a fun book and you'll love it. So that's it for this episode. And that's cool.